Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today we have the girl takeover starting this week as it's time to dive into the water with Aquatics, as Yao is going to take the lead in this Regulation Battle Volume 1 video, as we're going to be looking at why Aquatic is going to be probably one of the best strategies in this actual rule set. But before I get into it, as always, I have one little request of you, and that is simply to accelerate the sub count. We're going to pass the peaks and surpass those summits, but we do that with your assistance, and we go higher and higher as the Ad Army keeps growing, and you can add yourself to it. But we're going to be jumping into it right now, as we're going to be talking about Aquatic, and it's time to talk about the perks. So starting off, the perks for this deck are pretty interesting. So in Regulation Battle Volume 1, with our restrictions to uncommons and commons, the main perks of Aquatic is that it has many options. This is mostly because a lot of its best cards and very good cards are going to be in the uncommon to common slots, and you have very good cards you can switch around. There are a lot of options to use, which is the main reason this deck does so well. So if you see cards outside of this video that are not going to be here, do not fret. As long as they're common and uncommon, you can put them in. Additionally, we have consistent search power. This is thanks to the BT19 Sangomon, which is going to be your main searcher in the strategy, getting for Liberator cards, but as well as accessing your aquatic-based Digimon. So very cool. Additionally, you have playable Tamers. This is morely in the fact of the Tamers we'll cover in a second, but we have Yao and we also have Homer, so you are not short of actually using Tamers in this format, where Tamers are going to be a commodity. Additionally, we have extremely good keywords, very great ones for the aquatic strategy. Jamming is going to be one of the main focused ones, as you'll see in a second, but the fact is you have great keywords here. Additionally, you have very good boss option Digimon, which we'll talk about when we get there, but the key factor is you have 3 very good ones, and 4 technically if you want to kind of mess around with some of the other blue cards, but the key factor is this deck is not short of having the ability to switch around and play different ways. But we're jumping into it by starting off with the Tamers for once, because this is where this strategy actually accelerates really well. As we look at both Homer Yushima and Yao QINGLAN, Yao is going to be the main focus of the deck because she accesses you as a memory setter, which is very important, and you can deploy her for free off of Shellmon for BT19. So that is going to be one of the main benefits of Yao in this deck, as she will not just benefit your strategy, but she also benefits you for memory, which is going to be, like I said, a commodity in this format. Additionally, she has the ability to allow you, when you're attacking with one of your Aqua or Sea Animal Digimon, to load a level 5 or lower one into their sources as their bottom Digi-Evolution card. This is very important because it will allow you to refill the cards as you attack. So there will be a lot of times where you'll pull out a source so you don't have jamming, but you can put in another Digimon to give you jamming immediately. So Yao is going to make sure that you have access to your good keywords. Additionally, Homer Yushima is here as one of the best Tamers to use in blue decks, I think, for the format. The main reason why is that he still just freely gives you the ability to play out a level 3 blue Digimon from one of your Digimon's Digi-Evolution cards. So the reason that this is important in this deck is that it will trigger your egg depending on what you play. So a lot of times you can be getting free memory off of Homer, making Homer actually a two-play cost to use Tamer, which is good. But then during all turns when you play a blue Digimon, by suspending this Tamer, you may place one blue level 4 or lower Digimon as that Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution card. Main reason this is big is that this allows you to kind of build your second stack. So Homer effectively allows you to pull out a source from your stacks, then additionally build that stack up with a source underneath. So this allows you to keep this resource loop that you'll be seeing in the deck strategy kind of going constantly. When we look at the eggs now, we have 3 options. I think one's a mandatory, being the BT14 Bukamon. I'm pretty sure that we will also have the same ban list restrictions, so you can't play for a Bukamon, unfortunately, but that's actually not why you're playing the Bukamon. You just want access to jamming in this deck. So having a 5th egg in this deck actually isn't too much of a problem because you will be building stacks in this deck. So having a 5th egg isn't the worst ever, and Digimon will be a bit slower in this format, so there is a good chance that you'll actually cycle in through more of your eggs than you will in the current format. Additionally, you have access to the BT11 Wanyamon and BT7's Bukamon. Wanyamon will give you a draw, and since you will be playing 2 sets of Tamers in this deck, there is a good chance you'll actually get the draw more often than not. But for Bukamon from BT7, this is how you gain memory. You will be, when you play Digimon from your Digi-Evolution sources from your Digimon, you gain a memory. This is important in this deck because having access to more memory will put you a little bit further ahead than most decks in the format. But like I said, that's one of the benefits Aquatic offers. Moving into the level 3s, we have our first set of level 3s, and I did say first set because you have lots of options, like I said before. Starting off, the main one that you're probably going to play in every deck is going to be the BT19 Sangomon. The main reason this one's important is because when you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, you get to add 1 Aqua or 1 Sea Animal Digimon or in any of their traits. Additionally, this also means you can also grab your Liberator card as well as an option. So the Liberator line of the Aquatic line in the case of Sangomon is searchable, so that could be your second hit. But the main reason why is basically everything you're going to be playing in the deck will either be aquatic or sea animal to some extent, so you're going to be basically hitting almost all the time with this card, so it's important. But it's inheritable too. At the end of the attack, gives you 1 memory. Is very big because when you slot it in with something like Yao, you will be able to get that at the end of the attack effect off, so you'll gain a memory. So very cool at keeping the consistency up. Additionally, you have Crabmon and Swimmon. Swimmon is more important here because it is ruled as an aquatic, so it will be kind of like what I think is one of your best partner rookies for Sangomon, being able to be picked up. As evaded is the main skill, but keyword is jamming. So a lot of our rookies basically just carry jamming outside of Sangomon to keep the resource loop going, to give you jamming constantly with your swings so you don't lose. Additionally, we have Crabmon from EX8 here. I have this one specifically, although unfortunately it is not a sea animal, but I do not know if crustacean is treated as a sea animal. I'll have to figure that out. If not, then you will not be able to search it, but that's not really the point. What you want is this card under your sources, because yes, it carries jamming as it's inheritable, but then on play allows you to give one of your Digimon blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. This is going to be huge because now you have access to blocker, which is one of the main reasons why I think running this card in a couple copies is not bad, because you still have access to jamming, so you can slot it in with like Homer. But additionally, you can also build on top of this thing, so it's worth it to play it out to give give blocker, sorry, as it is going to be important. However, we do have other options, like I said. Looking at a few of the others, I have something like Betamon from BT15 here, where it has jamming as it's inheritable and allows you to, when you play it, it gets to keep one of your opponent's Digimon from attacking until the end of their turn. So very cool. And additionally, I have the EX6 Biomon here. Now, this one's actually very cool, I think, because this is a blocker that can attack. So it carries blocker innately and it carries jamming as it's inheritable. So this one might be an option you choose to play. Yes, you cannot search it, but that's not really the point with playing this one. If you play it, this is morely here because it gives you an innate blocker, so that's very cool. Looking at some of our champions now, we actually move on to the BT19 Shellmon alongside the BT19 Shikemon. So Shellmon allows you to play Yao for free when you Digivolve. Very cool. It carries the end of attack, you gain a memory. So it's a hard one to return, but very solid and makes Shellmon an inclusion because it also is a Liberator card. So you can include it in your searches for your aquatic cards because it's also an aquatic. So you can add one of these, add something else, or go ahead and add this as your Liberator card and add something else as your aquatic. Very cool. Shikemon allows you to, on play and when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to their hand. So this is good as removal. So you can Digivolve into this thing, get a bounce of like a Floodgate rookie off the field, but also allows you to simply hard play it or play it from sources and get a bounce as well. So very solid. It carries jamming as inheritable, but is also treated as an aquatic. So very cool. Additionally, we have something, if you're going to play this lineup, to supplement with the BT15 Seadramon. This one's really cool because it gives you Rush as its main skill. So if it's played out from sources, you can go ahead and attack with it immediately. And if you have access to its inheritable being jamming, meaning that you also have jamming on your level 4s, so your stacks should be basically able to keep up by never not having jamming in some form, which is kind of what the focus of this strategy is, at least what I'm looking at. Additionally, we have to supplement this as a secondary line if you want to choose to be different. You can use the other Seadramon Digimon, so that includes the Deep Saver Seadramon from EX8 and Seadramon X from BT20. Both of them offer really cool effects. So Seadramon from EX8 allows you to, when attacking, gain 1 memory, so that's very cool. It's a hard one to return. It carries jamming as well, but then Seadramon X allows you to Digivolve on top of your Seadramon for free, obviously. You draw a card for the evolution, but more importantly, you return one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon to their hand. So very cool. And then if you have Seadramon in the sources, you stun a Tamer from suspending until the end of their turn. So very cool. And carries the 1 attacking. If you have 7 or fewer cards, you draw 1. So personally, I really like that effect because it makes the Seadramon level 4 slot really cool to use. So it is an option for you. Additionally, we move on to the level 5s, where we start to talk a little bit more of what the deck is trying to do. So when we get to our level 5 slot, we have a few options. Starting off, we have BT19's Wankumon. I like Wankumon because this card allows you to have blocker, but then on playing when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your Digimon cannot be deleted in battle. This is really big because it gives you protection in the format from attacks. So that's really cool in my opinion. It's just really nice to have that. And for its inheritable, your turn, this Digimon's attack targets can't change. This is big for Wankumon because if you give this to your level 6s, then they can't basically be blocked or redirected. So there might be some redirectors in the format because there are some redirectors that exist then in common slot. So you have to be worried about that. But then when it comes to our additional top ends for level 5s, you have to pick between Xiaojinmon and Waru Seedramon. So the main reason I'm picking between these two is Xiaojinmon is funny enough in theme with Homer, but the main reason why is Xiaojinmon as blocker, but during your opponent's turn when an opponent's Digimon attacks, you may play one of your level 4 or lower Digimon cards from this Digimon's Digi-Evolution cards without paying the cost. I like that ability because you can try to steal a turn from your opponent if you have enough inheritables online. Like maybe they have like, they're at 0, but they go ahead and attack, and then you use Xiaojinmon to bring out like a source, and then you trigger Bukamon to gain a memory and pass the turn back to you. Like I said, with Yao in play, you will go up to 3, so that basically ends their turn, and you start off with more memory. But Xiaojinmon is reactive, which is one of its problems, that you can't really do anything with it. You have to let your opponent attack, where Waru Seedramon, on the other hand, allows you to on-play, and when Digi-Evolving, you play one purple or blue level 3 Digimon from one of your Digimon's Digi-Evolution sources, so you play one from that, and you basically just hit the field with it. But the main reason why this is important is that it is a 4 cost to evolve, but the key factor is you can play this for 8 and still get the effect off, but more importantly, you can also, when you Digivolve into this, refund it to a 3 evolution cost with like Bukamon. But the key factor here is that you're playing your sources out, which is why you want to do this in the strategy anyways. You want to continuously bring Digimon out from the sources so that you can start making your field wider. And additionally, for its all turns effect, for its inheritable once per turn, when you play a Digimon by an effect, you gain a memory. This works well with our level 6s. Some of them actually hard play, so you want to be able to have access to this and Bukamon, because if you do that setup, you'll be getting 2 memory off of both effects, so it's cool. Also, it is all turns effect, so like what I was mentioning with Xiaojinmon, if you have 2 stacks for whatever reason, a level 6 and a Xiaojinmon out with a source, you can, in theory, go ahead and let them attack, use that effect of Xiaojinmon to play something out, and then Waru Seedramon's inheritable will trigger with Bukamon, and you'll gain a memory. So that's key, but I have to make sure, because I'm pretty sure Bukamon is a your turn effect. I think I may have been just saying that incorrectly. Just want to make sure so you guys don't do it. Yeah, it's a your turn effect, so you'll only be gaining memory off of the Waru Seedramon. So good thing I checked. Point is, Waru Seedramon, very good. It can get the job done in the format. Moving into our level 6s, we actually have a good amount to choose from. So starting off, we have our main ones that are going to be what plays from the sources. This being the EX5 EX3's Plesiomon alongside BT10's Regalicusmon. So starting off with Plesiomon, Plesiomon simply plays out a level 3 Digimon from your sources, or a level 4 or lower Digimon with like Sea Animal or Aquatic. So this can be any of your Seedramons. This can be any of your level 4s you want to hard play. The key factor is having Plesiomon in the deck allows you to do that, but the problem is you can only do this once, because Plesiomon obviously doesn't have a continuous loop of its effect, so you do have to keep that in mind. You only get one source out at the time, but Plesiomon is here. It's very good. You'll never use its inheritable because there's no level 7s, so keep that in mind. And additionally here, we go into Regalicusmon. Regalicusmon's strength in this deck is that it allows you to adapt the build a bit if you want to play some cards that trash sources, because its first effect allows you to trash 2 sources from one of your Digimon's, or one of your opponent's Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution cards, obviously. And then when your opponent has one, or has a Digimon with no evolution sources, when you attack with Regalicusmon, it can play out a level 3 Digimon and a level 4 Digimon from its sources. So the reason that this is big is that in this deck, when you build up a stack, that you have the right time set up, and if maybe you slotted in something. Also, this card's an Aquatic, which is why it's really important, because it synergizes with Yao. You attack with this card, trigger Yao's effect first, because you will be able to do it when attacking, or you can go ahead and do this reversely. So you attack with the Regalicusmon, use its effect, play out your level 3 and level 4. They're usually the ones with jamming, but now you have 2 Digimon online. However, you'll now then trigger Yao's effect, because you have a blue Digimon attacking. You'll then slot in a new jammer underneath to make sure Regalicusmon attacks with jamming, and then it'll survive. The key factor is now, in theory, you would have had brought out 3 Digimon, having 1 suspended in Regalicusmon, 2 on field, and now they're ready to do whatever you need, so it's really cool. Additionally, we back up both of these either options with the BT19 Shengpenmon. Now, the BT19 Shengpenmon's strength is that it has security attack +1 and blocker, but its main thing is it allows it to suck in one of the Digimon on the field to gain 3 memory for its evolution. So the key factor for this is that you will be able to gain memory back. So Shengpenmon should be like a 2-cost Evo, which is really good. Additionally, it's also ruled as an Aquatic card, so you can search for this. The main reason why you play Shengpenmon as a boss Digimon is that it's one of the only really good cards with security attack +1 for this deck, and it's a blocker, so If you just want to leave it on the field, this is actually pretty bulky because 13,000 DP. There's not going to be too many Digimon in the format that can get over Shenpenmon. Additionally, you're going to be able to, unless it's red, of course, sorry. Additionally, you're going to be able to have that security attack +1 and blocker. So you will be doing a lot of damage when you attack to your opponent. And because this deck can go so wide and you have a lot of options to play out from other sources, you can, in theory, just make sure that double check is to chip your opponent down enough so that your deck can fulfill the rest of its duty and attack enough. Finishing off, as we move on from our level 6s, we have some options. So this is actually where I think Aquatic is just so strong being in blue. There are so many good uncommon to common blue option cards you can put into this deck that can really get the deck going. One of the best examples is probably going to be Kaiser Nail because you can play this in the deck. It'll allow you an additional way to pull out sources outside of Homer. So maybe playing 1 to 2 copies of this is fine. And also it allows you to pull out your level 5s from their sources of the level 6s because you will be able to do that. So do keep that in mind. Additionally, you have access to some of the best options in the form of Howling Memory Boost. I think this is a really good card to pair if you're going to play Regalicusmon in your deck because Regalicusmon will not be able to always strip all the sources of your opponent's Digimon, but this card can also be a defensive card to strip the sources of other Digimon on your opponent's field, get them to 0, but more importantly, get them stunned so that they can't attack, so that you don't have to worry about them, and also maybe set up your blockers so it can buy you a turn. Howling Memory Boost also can be traded in for the memory, so this is going to be a very important factor that a lot of decks will not have access to in this format, so do keep that in mind. And then we finally cap it off with a card that I think is just funny is Tidal Wave. So Tidal Wave is a really cool card because this card was talked about a bit when it was released, but it never really sees play. It's because of its high cost. So it's a 7 cost option, and it's basically Kaiser Nail, but you target 2 cards instead of 1. So you play out 2 Digimon instead. And it's pretty cool. So you basically pay 7 to get out 2 Digimon from a source of another Digimon. So you're basically getting 3 Digimon on field for like 7 memory. The main reason that this doesn't really see play is pretty much for the fact that it is a high memory cost. However, you can pair this up in a slower format like this to really take advantage of your opponent because hard play will be something you see in this format. It's just usually something you see in slow Digimon a lot because hard playing is a more viable strategy when the format's a bit slower because people can't capitalize on the memory a lot. You usually see this in the main format with like people going for trainings and memory boosts and finding search ability to just kind of dig their deck out to try to get the pieces they need. So giving them a lot of memory is not so good. But in this format, having access to 7 memory to immediately start getting sources to the field or resource Digimon to the field really allows you this ability to pressure your opponent. And it's really good to have Tidal Wave as an option. Like there's a litany of really good blue option cards in the uncommon to common slot that you should check out if you want to see. But guys, I'm going to cap off the video here as this is pretty much one of the reasons why or multiple reasons, sorry, that Yao and the Aquatic strategy is going to be really good in the Regulation Battle 1 format. I do know that it's still going to be about a month away, I think, before we actually get into the events for the format, but get signed up if you want to play this format, or if you're going to play this format for fun with your friends or whoever, go ahead and try it out. I think it's a really interesting dynamic, but this is just going to be one of the litany of decks I said that are going to be good in the format. This one actually has a lot of good tools, and it should be enjoyable for you. But guys, this has been Brad from the Ed Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.